So to perform suturing in the 3-layer pad, we first need to make an incision. So we're going to take our scalpel blade, keep it guarded until you're using it, pull the guard off, and then we're going to make an incision. If you're right-handed, you'll make the incision typically from left to right. If you're left-handed, typically from right to left. We're going to make it right in the middle of the pad, and you can appreciate that we're going to work our way through, getting just through the skin layer. So you can see we've got through the skin layer down to the subcutaneous tissues. A little bit more to get into the subcu. Then we can work our way through the subcutaneous layer as well. And you can appreciate that we've gone through the skin and the subcutaneous, and we have just the fascial layer. And if you want to practice suturing fascial layers, then you're going to go all the way down through the fascial layer as well and have it open up. So in this case, you can appreciate that we've got 3 layers of pad: the fascial layer, the subcutaneous layer, and the skin layer. To begin with, we're going to suture using some nylon monofilament suture in a 3/8 circle reverse cutting needle. We're going to start actually with the fascial layer here, even though we would typically use a absorbable suture. In this case, this works fine for practice. So to open this up, we're going to remove the suture from the packet, and we're presented with the needle. And if you look at the needle, in most cases what we want to do is to grasp the needle just a little past halfway from the back of the needle. So if you see the needle here, this is about halfway. We're going to grab it just a little past halfway in order to accomplish that. And that provides for us good security of the needle, but we're less likely to straighten the needle out. Pull it out of the package. And then in this case, we're going to perform a continuous pattern in the fascial layer. So we can grab a hold of the fascial layer, and we can use the needle to push the subcutaneous tissue back and get just fascia. Stabilize the needle with our needle thumb forceps. So there we've lost it. We can re-grab, or if you need to, you can reposition. Grab the fascial layer here, and then we can push the subcutaneous tissue back with the needle, get just the fascia, stabilize that with the thumb forceps, let go with the needle holders, grab the suit needle, then using the curve of the needle, bring it through the fascia. We're going to go ahead and pull the long suture through. Then we're going to grab the fascial layer again, now place the needle through the fascia, and here we're going to move the subcutaneous tissue back and just get a bite of the fascia, support the needle, bring that through. Now at this point, we're going to make sure that we've got the short end of our suture here that has been caught in our knot, but that's okay. We'll bring it through there. And we're going to do essentially the beginning of a continuous line is the same as a simple interrupted pattern. So we place the needle holders over the incision, come around the needle holders with suture, grab the short end, and here instead of tightening across the incision like we do in our skin sutures, we're actually going to tighten along the incision, and you can see how that knot sucks down nicely. Put the needle holders back in the middle of the loop, around one time, back through, and we can tighten that up. So square knot should have 4 throws, that's 3, and here is 4. All of these we're tightening along the incision. Because this is a buried suture, we're going to cut this short, about 2 millimeters or so we don't leave any extra foreign material in our suture line than we need. Position the needle again just beyond halfway, and we're going to continue our pattern. So we grab the fascia, push the subcutaneous tissue back, down through the fascia, stabilize the needle, use the curve of the needle to pull it through, bring our suture through, grab just beyond halfway, come in, grab just the fascia, pull the subcutaneous tissue back through the fascia, and continue our pattern. And we're just going to go ahead and finish this suture pattern up, and then we'll tie a knot at the end. beginner bites need to be about 4 to 5 millimeters from the cut edge and about 5 to 10 millimeters along the fascia, totally depending on the thickness of the fascia. And that bite, you see that I was able to get both sides of the incision at once. Sometimes you can do that. Other times it ends up being less efficient actually, because you end up causing problems with not getting even bites. And if you don't get an even bite, then it doesn't put even tension on your suture line, which causes the tissue to either roll, invert, or evert, or overlap. And so we want to be careful not to do that. So when we've come to the end of the fascial incision, it's time to tie that off. And because it's a continuous pattern, we're going to have a loop on one side and the long end of suture on the other. So here we have the loop, the long end of the suture, needle holder goes in the middle, come around that one time, grab in the middle of the loop and then rotate that loop, because we want that to be nice and flat and tighten along the incision. Needle holder's back in the middle of the loop, around once, rotate the short end loop through, keep everything flat so that it forms a nice square knot. I have to open the needle holders to make sure that the small loop equilibrates. Back in the middle, around, throw 3, one more time for the 4th row in order to make sure I've got a good square knot. Because again, this is a deep suture. I want to cut these short so that they're only about 2 millimeters long, so I'm not leaving extra tissue in there, that or extra suture that I don't need.